Well, hello and welcome to Understand Men Now. I'm Jonathon Aslay of jonathonaslay.com, and I'm so excited to be doing this live stream for you today. Our topic, the 4 reasons why men go passive or slow. Really quickly, if you're brand new to my YouTube channel, please hit the subscribe button, hit the bell so you can be notified of new videos. And also, if at any time during this video, this content resonates with you, please do me a favor and hit that like button so more people get to see it in the YouTube algorithm. All right, let's just jump right in. Oh, really quickly, if you're watching the replay, I do the content first, then I go to Q&A. So just so you know, you're going to get the content first, then go to Q&A. And those who are regulars know, if you ask a question, post the word question, and then write your question out, but give me about 15 minutes to get the content out. So we're going to talk about those 4 reasons why men go passive or slow. And number 3 is a big one. We've got to talk about that. So let's first identify what it means for a man to go slow or passive. So I'm sure many of you have been indoctrinated into this idea that men are hunters and that they're chasers and they're chivalrous and they're going to claim you. And certainly there are plenty of men who do that. When a man is absolutely smitten by a woman, from like whether it's meeting through an online dating app or meeting in some social setting, he is certainly going to approach her like a laser beam when a man is absolutely smitten. Now, how often do men get smitten? That's actually kind of rare these days, especially considering that roughly about 90% of all new dating prospects, if you will. Most people are meeting these days through an online connection, an internet connection. It's a dating app, it's a social media app, it could be a dating website, that sort of thing. So the reality is you're meeting a total stranger. So right off the bat, we're going to have some hesitancy in the beginning if we don't know you. And so I want you to think about that. You're meeting total strangers. How excited are you with a total stranger? And I want you to think of how excited can man be. So can a man really hunt, chase, pursue, and everything unless he's excited? Absolutely not. Now, we need to differentiate between the men who are chasing sex versus those who are serious about a relationship. Because a man who's chasing sex, he will go after someone like, oh my God, there's, like, get out of the way. I mean, everybody get out of the way. I want this. But how long does that last? And I want you to also think about this. How many times have you gone on a first date where you've had really great chemistry, explored the relationship, only to have a guy emotionally pull away? He disappears, he becomes flaky, he wants space, that sort of thing. So today we're going to identify what really causes a man to go slow, because the reality is right from the get-go, for those of you who are meeting through an online connection, it's quite rare that we feel excited about someone's profile. It's rare. Because most of the time, people put together really crappy dating profiles. I mean, whether it's crappy photographs, crappy essays, it's just, misspellings, that sort of thing. Most people have put together some weak representation of themselves. This is men and women alike. And so therefore, there's no enthusiasm to want to pursue someone right from the first get-go. And then once you meet someone that there might be some attraction to, not like lightning bolt, Cupid hit you in the butt, and I've had that happen. It's very rare because we're meeting total strangers. We don't know their values. We don't know if their lifestyle is blendable with us. And we don't know if they're really an emotional grown-up to be in a healthy, happy, juicy, delicious relationship. So this is what men and women are faced with, these challenges. So I'm going to lean into what really causes a man to go slow, especially when most of the time we're meeting total strangers. Is this sinking in? Is this resonating? If it is, do me a favor and hit that like button right now if you're watching the replay. All right, so number 1, this is really the biggest, but I wanted to say number 3 is the biggest for a different reason. So this is probably the most significant reason why a man goes slow. He's experiencing what I call chaos in his life. He's going through a divorce. Maybe he's been divorced, but he has a contentious ex-spouse. Maybe he has children that he has problematic issues with. Maybe he has stuff going on at work that's struggling for him. Maybe there's health issues going on. When a man doesn't feel solid in his life, it's very difficult to actively pursue a relationship. So they're going to most likely take it slow, which will appear to be passive. Now, you might be saying to yourself, well, why would a man pursue a relationship if he's got chaos going on in his life? Well, let's be real for a second. Human beings are thirsty for connection. We're thirsty for connection. We're dying for connection with another human being. And men are biologically driven to want to have sex with a woman, biologically speaking. So when you have the drive for connection and a drive for sex, we might pursue relationships when we're not emotionally ready, when we're not emotionally healthy. And it makes matters worse when there's chaos going on in their life. I can't tell you how many women I talk to as a coach on a regular basis who have invested time, energy, and resources into a man who's absolutely incapable of being in a relationship, but he's in chaos. And yet, sadly, with many of these women, and some of you women are beautiful human beings, you're nurturers, you're lovers, you're fixers, and you take on these projects only to have yourself disappointed that if he heals, he ends the relationship with you because he wants to become a bright, shiny penny to someone else. Let me repeat that. He wants to become a bright, shiny penny to someone else. Or he, I had a thought. Where did it go? Bright, shiny, he moves on, or he doesn't progress beyond his wounds or traumas or issues. So this is what you're dealing with when you choose to date men with chaos. This is why when clients hire me in my private coaching practice, I teach how to vet for that level of emotional maturity, how to ask the right questions in the dating process. So actually, before you ever meet a man, so you can actually determine, does this person really fit into my life, or am I merely approaching this from a place of attraction and chemistry? And that's what I do in my private coaching. And check out the link below. If you're interested if you're interested in a discovery call with me to see if working with a coach is right for you. Okay, number 2, and this one is near and dear to my own heart, is men who lack passion or purpose in their life. Men who lack passion or purpose in their life. And let me explain an example of this. And this is from my own personal experience. So after turning 40 and going through the divorce about a decade and a half ago, I found myself, I lost my $250,000 a year job the month my ex-wife and I, or my then wife and I, decided to separate. I lost my $250,000 a year job. Shortly thereafter, I got wiped out in the market crash of 2008. And I found myself suffering deeply. And I drank, I did cocaine. I was a train wreck. And I was going through all this chaos in my life. And at that time, I actually had to move in with my mom and dad in my 40s. I had to move in with my mom and dad. And I used to live in a $2 million home. I told you I had a $250,000 a year job. I had a private membership to a golf course. And now I'm living in my 100 square foot room in my parents' condo at a retirement community. Talk about feeling shame. I was a train wreck. And yet I was actively dating. Why? Because I sought connection, connection and sex, but I so wasn't capable of being in a relationship. Moscow Mule, happy hour. Hope you're drinking. Let me know if you are. What's your cocktail of choice? This just happens to be my video cocktail of choice. My normal drink is a vodka martini, either Grey Goose or Tito's. Okay, so going back to the original point was, so at this point in my life, I lacked purpose. I lacked passion. In fact, it was so depressing for me that, that's why I told you I was drinking, I was doing drugs, just to numb the pain, because I lacked purpose in my life. I lacked passion. Now, interestingly enough, at this time, I started my dating coaching business. I first helped women improve their online dating profiles. That's how I got started in this, was helping women improve their online dating profiles. And a woman would hire me, fix her profile, and literally within 3 weeks, I'd get phone calls. Jonathan, oh my God, I met a great guy. Jonathan, I met a great guy. Jonathan, I met a great guy. And then it would be, can you look at his profile and tell me what you think? And I realized I could look at men's profiles and I could determine the men who were players, ghosters, serial daters, serial monogamists, nice guys, bad boys, and the right girl, right guy for you. I literally had a knack of profiling men. And that's how I started my coaching practice. So I started to have something to look forward to. And when a person doesn't have something to look forward to, they don't have the ground underneath them very solid to be in a relationship, which causes them to be passive or slow. Because how can we pursue a woman if we can't take care of well, that's the chaos piece, taking care of ourselves. But how can we pursue someone if our life is in chaos and we lack purpose? We lack passion. And by the way, many women are experiencing the exact same thing. Everything I'm sharing with you is something I experience in the dating realm as a man from women who lack purpose or passion, who are going through chaos in their life. There's nothing fun about that. And so while they might want to be connected in sex, they have an incapacity to go into deeper intimacy. And that's one of the greatest challenges we're dealing with. Okay, let's get to number 3, the big one. All right, let me put on my trusty glasses, see what I wrote. Okay. Oh, so these are the men who are set in their ways. In other words, it's my way or the highway. And here's the thing, since I'm a dating coach for those of you in midlife, which is after baby making years and before retirement, a man who has been by himself, relatively by himself for quite some time, becomes set in his ways. And when a man is set in his ways, the dating process is on his terms, okay? Now, I know many of you love the idea that a man will lead the dating process and he'll be chivalrous and he's going to claim you. Oh my God, when I hear that from the princess coaches out there, I call them the princess coaches. These are the coaches that are teaching princess energy, this false energy of Prince Charming. Now, if there are Prince Charmings out there, they represent 1% of the population. And quite frankly, of that 1% of the population, you're only attracted to 1% of them. So it's 1/10 of 1% of 1% of the population are these Prince Charming types, but I know a lot of you have taught this, but the reality, let's get to the nitty gritty and the reality of men. As men age, they get set in their ways. So what happens is that they act passive or slow because they're going to see you on their terms and not at your discretion. I know a lot of you will hear this, and I've even said it myself. When a man genuinely loves you, he's going to accommodate himself for you. That's true. But a man who becomes set in his ways, and the older men get, the more set in the older men get, the more set in the ways they are. So just recognize that when a man is acting passive or slow, it's oftentimes because he's rigid in his own. And quite frankly, he sees you as a maybe in his life, a maybe. And a maybe is, I like you, I enjoy the connection and the sex, but I really don't want much more. Which kind of leads to, quite frankly, the 4th one I'm about to share with you. The 4th one, and that is, so these are men who are what's experienced, I call it's what Esther Perel calls stable ambiguity. But these are men who are seeking casual relationships. So that's really what it is, casual relationships, also known as stable ambiguity. If you're not familiar with the work of Esther Perel, Mating in Captivity, she talks about something called stable ambiguity. What that means is it's a relationship is exclusive and monogamous, and yet it's ambiguous as to where it's going. When men are only interested in a casual relationship, we can want connection and sex from a woman, but we're going to hold some space between you. We don't want to get too close, because we don't want to make a promise we can't keep. Okay. And what happens is that space in between is where we act slow because we want to keep space and distance from you because we're incapable of going into deeper intimacy. This is one of the reasons why I encourage men to start reading my book, What the Heck is Self-Love Anyway? What the Heck is Self-Love Anyway? It's a journey of personal development, self-help, and spiritual work to shift into being able to love yourself so you can actually shift out of this desire to be in something casual and to be in something a little bit more concrete. Is this sinking in? Is this resonating? Please let me know. So, can you now understand why men act? These are just some reasons why men act passive or slow. They think of you as a maybe. They're set in their ways. You're coming across as princess energy. There's chaos going on in his life. He lacks passion and purpose. And there's a lot of other factors to consider. Do you share the same values? Do you share the same values? Are your lifestyles blendable? And then lastly, emotional maturity. And this is the hardest piece to vet for. So when I created my private coaching program, it is all to teach you how what I call vetting, or it's pre-qualifying your prospect or pre-qualifying the relationship. Because I want you to imagine this. You're interviewing for a job and you have 100 resumes lined out. You're going to pre-qualify each resume. And I'm talking about someone who has an extensive resume. It's not height, hair, looks, and that sort of thing. It's deeper. And so going through the job interview process is to decide if you actually want to date or to hire someone. So you go through a pre-qualifying, you go through resumes, then you have an interview process, then you maybe have another interview process before you actually consider maybe hiring them. So I'm here to teach you a better way to date, mate, and relate, basically by teaching you how to ask better questions. And I'm going to talk about that a lot more and some of the questions you should be asking in the dating process. Now, really quickly, I have a confession to make with everyone right now. We're going to take questions in a second. So write the word question and post your question out, or purchase a super sticker or a super chat. The money that comes from my super stickers and super chat goes to a foundation I'm creating for my son, Connor. That's him right there. He's my son who passed away a few years ago. And my goal is to create a scholarship fund for those to get personal development work. So that's my eventual goal, and I'm in the process of working on that. So every super sticker, every chat that if you want to post a question or donate to me, goes to that. So like I said, I have a confession to make. I didn't realize it, but this red sweater, I am burning up. So I have a t-shirt I'm going to put on. I'm going to step away from the screen for about 12 seconds. Bear with me because I am sweating like a pig. But don't leave, I'm there, I'm here. And I don't want to show you, I didn't want to take off my shirt in front of everyone. Okay. That feels so much better. Do I look better with my Stay Salty shirt? Those who know my son who passed away, his nickname is Salty. And so, so it says, Stay Salty. All right. I feel so much better. Boy, that sweater was hot. All right, let's take questions now. So if you have a question, please post it. I'd love to chat with you about whatever you want to talk about. So just a reminder, write the word question and post your question. Now, really quickly, I want to share something with all of you. I recently was following a few of my contemporaries in the dating realm or in the relationship realm, whatnot. One happens to be both one's a man, one's a woman. And the man is basically professes to women a very patriarchal way of dating, In other words, men are the dominant force in the relationship and dating process, and a woman must be subservient. Let me repeat that. Men are the dominant force in the relationship process, and a woman must be subservient. And he basically touts the importance that a woman just be basically look good, be friendly, put up with his crap, and be submissive to him. And that's the key to relationship success. Now, quite frankly, when I hear that, I cringe because it's such archaic way of looking at relationships. This is terrible. Now, I understand kind of some of the reasons why he shares what he does, but I think this is very damaging to subjugate yourself and give your power away to another human being. I just don't recommend that. And so I just wanted to address that because it's something that frustrates me. And another thing that frustrates me are the coaches that tell women, just simply be friendly, kind, and nice. And within 6 weeks, you'll figure out if he's really your guy. They basically claim it takes about 6 weeks to determine if he's emotionally healthy, if your lifestyles are blendable, does his action match his words, is he emotional grown up, that sort of thing. Look at, that's certainly a great way to go. But let me just say this. You're friendly, you're nice. You go out with someone for 6 weeks and then it doesn't work out. Then 2 weeks later, you're back out there. You're friendly, you're nice. You got another 6 weeks and then it doesn't work out. And then you're friendly and nice. It doesn't work out. And this happens again and again and again. Do you know, I've spoken to women who have had over 1,000 dates in a 10-year period of time. I've actually spoken to one woman who had that, but I've spoken to women who have had over hundreds of dates with men and they've gone nowhere. This is why, and by the way, I got a text message from a client just now. She had finished working with me 6 months ago, and she just sent me a message wanting to tell me that she's in this great relationship. Why? Because I teach a technique called vetting for emotional maturity and pre-qualifying your prospect. Ladies, please understand, any man before you go out with them is strictly a prospect. It's not a date. Your first date is simply a meeting. It's a sniff test. Sniff test like a dog. You're just sniffing to see if you're right for one another. It's not, don't get so hung up on the, oh my God, I've heard from women, I expect a man to take me out to dinner. I expect a man to do this on a first date. I expect a man to be chivalrous. I expect this. As my friend Guy Blue says, expectations is the mother of disaster and desperation is her twin sister. Ladies, stop expecting these sort of things. Just recognize that two human beings who barely know each other are going to struggle in the beginning of getting to know one another. So I'm here to be a proponent of just approaching the process a little bit smarter by asking some really good questions right off the bat. For example, a really great question might be, what does a relationship look like for you and what does commitment look like for you? I'm going to repeat that. What does a relationship look like for you and what does commitment look like for you? Now, those who follow me know, here's my pat answer if a woman asks me that. I'm looking for a relationship where we spend 3 or 4 days and nights a week together, doing shared activities and hobbies, mutual interests, spending time with family and friends, traveling together, being partnership for one another, both in our personal and our professional life, including intimacy, which is both emotional intimacy and physical intimacy, which leads to either living together or getting married. I'm crystal clear, and I will only invest in someone who I think she and I would be a good fit. So everything I'm teaching my clients, it's because I'm doing it. Now, how you do it is also a big part of this challenge. And so I'm a big proponent. If you're struggling with this, check out the link to a free discovery call with me or join my private group called Midlife Love Mastery. Check out my book or listen to my podcast or keep watching these videos. I hope you're getting value from them. All right, time to answer questions. I got to wipe down my glasses. Question, how was your friend's birthday the other day? I hope you enjoyed yourselves. Yeah, my friend's birthday was great. I got to hang out with my guy friends. Just wonderful. Thanks for asking. I appreciate that, Leaf. Kelly, thank you so much. You've donated to the Connor Fund, and I really appreciate that. Thank you so much. Big hugs to you, sweetheart. Thank you. How you help me with every session. Thank you so much, Liz. I'm grateful to be able to support you. And Grace has a question, so let's check it out. Question, why do so many women forget that they are the prize and get to choose the giver of the package? Many seem so ready to settle for crap. Okay. Now, I'll be candid with you, Grace. I'm not a big proponent of anyone thinking that they're a prize per se. I certainly am a big proponent of knowing your self-worth, okay, and certainly your self-love. But we have to be careful with the idea of prize, okay, because I don't walk around thinking I'm the prize. I do know I show up healthier than most men out there, more demonstrative, more effusive. I do know that. But I'm careful not to go into the egoic, I'm the prize, because what happens with that consciousness, especially this queen consciousness, is here's the thing. I'm all a proponent. You can say you're the prize, but also recognize that a person who's a queen or a king operates as a giver and not a taker. A giver, not a taker. Now, what happens is, and I'm going to share something that Matthew Hussey, I learned from him. He uses an example called invest and test. Invest and test. Invest and test. In other words, I'm a big proponent to give and see if the person matches you, and see if that person gives and see if you match them. And so because the healthiest relationships are with two receivers as well as two givers. I guess, is that 4 people? Wow, that might be kind of a fun relationship. Just kidding. But I think you get my point. A giver and receiver and a giver and receiver. So yes, a lot of women take crap because they've given their power away. So it's not so much about being a prize. I'm a big proponent to step into your empowerment. Step into your empowerment. And recognize that you have to be careful with the language of prize or queen, because if you're going to act like a queen, you better treat a man like a king. And I got to tell you, a lot of women actually don't do queen energy. They do princess energy. Princess energy is basically, daddy, daddy, take care of me. King, king, take care of me. And do all the work and just hand me my Prince Charming, because I don't have to do anything. I just sit back in my feminine energy. I just lean back in my feminine energy. That's princess energy. A real I was going to say a real woman. I don't like that analogy. Okay, a person who is truly coming from a heart center place operates from being a giver. And I'm a big proponent of 2 people being givers in relationships, but they also have to have the capacity to receive. And so, yes, I'm not a fan of giving your power away and allowing someone to treat you like crap. Now, it's kind of hard when you feel connected to another human being or you feel attached. I mean, so many of you are attached to men who are wrong for you. This is why I highly recommend reading 2 books, Attached by Amir Levine and Rachel Heller, and also Getting the Love You Want by Harvell Hendricks and Helen Hunt. Why do I recommend these 2 books? Let me tell you why. This will explain why you keep choosing the same men over and over and over again. This will explain that. And this will explain why you get attached to people who are not right for you. And when you understand these 2 things, you're going to be ahead of the game. You won't be choosing as often the wrong person for you, and you'll be loving on yourself ever so more. Okay, does that resonate with you? I hope it does. Thanks again for your question, Grace. That was a good one. All righty then. Over 50, we all slow down and don't care as much, honestly. I think friendships are great, much more enjoyable. I had a 17-year marriage and dated after lovely suitors wanting to be married. Keep it fun. Okay, listen, there are plenty of people who just care about having fun. Just have a good time. It's all about having a good time. Have a good time. Here's the problem with having fun. You become emotionally attached to someone who's wrong for you. And then they break up with you. And then you do it again and again and again and again. And what happens, it wears on your emotional well-being. It can actually cause you more harm than good. Listen, don't have fun. I mean, you're welcome to do whatever you want. You want to have casual relationships, knock yourself out. If you want to have friends with benefits, knock yourself out. If you want a situation, knock yourself out. If you want partnership, follow my work. That's what I lean into. I am not against any type of relationship out there. Just choose a relationship that you're crystal clear on what you want. And I'll tell you, so many women don't know what they want, or you do, and it's at the 40,000 foot level. It's up in the clouds because you've been indoctrinated in The Notebook and Serendipity and Disney movies and everything. So I'm here to say, be more clear on what you want. And certainly a person could have something casual like what you're describing, because let's face it, dating is a clusterfuck out there. Dating is an absolute clusterfuck out there. It's a mess. These little devices has absolutely ruined us from our chance to actually, no, it's created great opportunities, but it's wearing on our emotional well-being. And if your heart gets tainted, what is it, tarnished too much, it's going to be hard to open your heart up, or not tarnished, but armored up. I can't tell you, I was communicating with a woman the other day on a dating site, and I could tell over the phone, she is so beaten up by the process of dating and her experiences that I just didn't even want to talk to her. It was like trudging through mud. And by the way, it's an occupational hazard. I'm a listener, so I ask questions and I listen. And she felt safe enough to chat with me, which is great. But what she didn't realize is she was vomiting her bitterness, her jadedness. And many of you get there because of too many repetitious, poor experiences. And by the way, here's the problem with a lot of male dating coaches. Male dating coaches operate from the male brain. Men can go out with 100 women and not even be phased after 99 of them, okay? A woman goes out with 100 men and not a good experience, her heart just becomes heavy. We men can do this because we can detach much easier than women most of the time. I'm not saying this is an absolute, as most of the time. So just recognize that you're better off learning how to ask the right questions in the beginning than approaching the process, just be fun and be a good girlfriend, and then find out 6 weeks later, he's a train wreck. By the way, I went out with women who said to me, Jonathan, I know you're a train wreck, but I want to date you anyway. I had one woman that said that, actually more than one. Actually, take that back. My most significant relationship knew I was a train wreck, but she accepted me anyway. And quite frankly, she needed healing too. We were actually great for each other because maybe on some level she chose me. I think many of you choose the wrong men because you're not really ready for a relationship and you need to experience enough chaos so you can start doing this. Love yourself. I can't begin to tell you how few how few human beings genuinely love themselves. This is why I wrote my book. By the way, I'm really excited. My book has been in the top 10,000 of Amazon lately. There's a link below to check out the book. It's dedicated to my son, Connor. And it's really a great piece. I'm very proud of it. And I would love for you to order it and just write a review. Check out the link below. All right, let's see what other questions we have. Seeker of Knowledge says, can you help a man who does not resolve any conflicts because he just walks out? He hid this until after married for years. Please, too late vetting. He past only mirrors my convictions. I think I understand what you mean. Well, first off, it's very natural for human beings to avoid conflict. It's one of the reasons why when I said to you, men only have so much capacity on emotional level because we're not prepared to handle conflicts. It's one of the reasons why many men don't go into deeper intimacy because they don't have the tools to navigate emotional well-being of another human being. And so what they do is they close off. And if this happens for too long, it's going to be very difficult for them to open up. And no woman can open up a man enough unless he wants to work on himself. This is why I'm a big proponent of the Hoffman process, And the Hoffman process is a deep dive into your childhood wounds and traumas that blocks our emotional maturity. This is why whether you're a man or woman, I highly recommend doing this inner work. Damn it, my pants are riding up my crotch again. Excuse me. I guess that's a problem when you don't wear underwear. And by the way, I've got pants on. I'm wearing jeans, so just, so you know. But people who haven't done the inner, let me just say this, the vast majority of the population does little inner work to heal their childhood wounds and traumas as well as their adult traumas. The average person will spend more time brushing their teeth, taking a shower, grooming themselves, or putting on makeup than they ever do doing interpersonal work on themselves, or personal development work, self-help, and spiritual work. This is why I'm such a big proponent of reading these books. One of the books I love the most is The Untethered Soul by Michael Singer. This will teach you how to talk to the voices in your head. Do you have voices in your head you don't know how to navigate? Purchase this book. It's in the link below. It will change your life. This is my Bible. It's by my nightstand. Pages are, crinkled open because I love reading this book. Okay, let's keep going. Sorry, it just takes me a little time to check this out. Don't forget, if you have a question, hit the word question and then post it. Hi, Jay. What about getting back with an ex? Better timing, perhaps. Okay, so there's this saying. It's timing. Look, as far as getting back with an ex, I guess the question is, do they want to get back with you? It's one thing you want to get back to them, but if you're going to choose to get back together, then what's your fucking plan? Okay, because there was a reason why your relationship ended. What are you going to do to heal the challenges that caused you to break up? Now, it might have been that he was a train wreck. Okay, I get that. And sometimes we want to come back to the well. But I want to highly recommend you have a plan and you do some serious vetting to make sure that you're both on the same page. Because ladies, okay, let me just say something. This is really important, so listen up, listen carefully. Most dating advice is centered around attraction. In other words, how do you develop attraction? And basically centered around chemistry. Okay, so great. Attraction. How do you create attraction? Be friendly, be smile, wear a nice dress, just be friendly, smile, wear a nice dress. You're attractive, I get it. Brush your hair, have a big smile, makeup, all that stuff, right? You're attractive, I get it, okay? Now, you start dating. He's attractive. He's 6'2", full head of hair, handsome's got a great job. Oh, wait, am I describing myself? Just kidding. All right, that was a little ego braggadocious coming out. I'll own it. Okay, so now you're attracted to one another and you're dating for that 6 weeks, only to find out his actions don't match his words. He doesn't have empathy. He is in victim consciousness. He's not very transparent and he doesn't know how to resolve conflicts. This is because most people focus on attraction and not what I talk about, and that is pre-qualifying your prospect, vetting for emotional maturity, determining who's truly compatible with you, and asking the right questions. Ladies, the biggest problem with dating, and men, if your men are listening to this as well, is Doug on? Is learning how to ask the right questions. The other day, not too long ago, I was interacting with a woman. And I said, screw it, I'm just going to go through my laundry list of questions on the phone. And after we got through it, I realized she's not right for me. So I didn't get dressed up for a date. I didn't drive for a date. I didn't, only to, because here's what would happen. Got dressed up, picked a place, drove for a date, paid for a date. We would add chemistry. We would have dated for a few weeks. We would have had sex. And I would have realized I would have broken up with her because she's not right for me. So do the same for yourself. I want to encourage you to ask better questions. And if you need some support, that's what I do. Check out in the description, the discovery call with me. All right. So anyways, I got off on a tangent. By the way, I sometimes go off on tangents. It's what I do. Leaf says, I agree with you 100%. Thank you, Leaf. All right, let's see what other questions we have. Okay, Angie. Are you familiar with parental alienation? I ask this because I am one, and high school friends, then I reconnected. I'm not familiar with parental alienation, so I am quite familiar with childhood wounds and traumas that are a result of either our direct parents or our surrogate parents. This comes back to the Hoffman process, understanding our childhood wounds and traumas. So no, sadly, I'm not familiar with that. But then again, it might be important to get this book, Getting the Love You Want, so you can understand the imago and why we keep choosing the same people over and over again and expecting different results. Sorry, but I'm welcome to study it. By the way, I am currently getting my cognitive behavioral certificate, therapy certificate, so maybe that might come up at some point. Hi, Tina. All right. What do you think about a guy who talks like and treats you? Wait, what do you think about a guy who talks like and treats you like he's crazy about you and you're exclusive, but refuses to take down his dating profile? So it depends on what time frame we're talking about here, Lisa. And thank you. That's a great question. So if you're, here's my feeling. This is actually my true feeling. If I'm smitten by someone, I'm not really interested in being on the dating sites. And quite frankly, it's rather distracting to have all these sites because I average about 10 or 15. I typically get about 10 or 15 emails a day from women from the variety of different sites that I'm on. Now, sometimes that's because they recognize me professionally. It's interesting. Since my YouTube channel has been blowing up, I'm getting a lot of people who recognize me professionally. So that happens. But my point is I don't want the distraction. But here's the thing. It's difficult to be single, to be active on the dating sites, to be talking to lots of women, and then all of a sudden like someone. There's actually this kind of, it's kind of like you've been so entrenched in the process that it takes a little time to unravel the tapestry to actually go, okay, I'm done with dating. So we can actually become rather addicted to the swipe. A friend of mine calls it a obligate swipe, but we can become addicted to the swipe. And so it might take a little time for someone to do that. But here's the thing. I think the minute you have sex together, not one time, but if you're going to have sex twice, then you have every right to say, take down your dating profile or I'm not sleeping with you. And not that you can guarantee he's going to do that, but I'm a big proponent of saying, look, I'm taking down my profile. And if we're going to have regular sex together, I request the same of you. But really about the time you have sex is the time to, and by the way, when you have sex, you should be talking about monogamy and exclusivity. Monogamy and exclusivity. It's something, and if you need help with that, here, let's see. I call it CARES. You see that? CARES, CARES. And I'm going to explain this to you. CARES stands for, the C stand, oh, this is about sex, okay? This is about sex. If you're going to have sex with someone, I think you should do it when you feel comfortable. That's what the C stands for. The A stands for be aware of the consequences. And what I mean to say is if you attach very easily to someone, then be aware of that so you can be a little bit more selective. The R stands for learn his real intentions. Basically, what I'm saying is ask better questions in the dating process. The E stands for exclusivity. Look at, I don't want to catch cooties. So when I'm with someone, I say, look, I want to be exclusive sexually. Are you on the same page with me? Because I don't want to catch cooties. And the S stands for safety. Safety can be emotional safety as well as physical safety, whether that's birth control, whether that's condoms, whether that's getting an STD test. Be safe. CARES. And my feeling is this. If you're going to have regular sex together, you have every right to say, take your fucking profile down. And by the way, you wouldn't say it that way. That's just me being curt. All right. All right, let's see what other questions we have. Again, if you have a question, post the word question and write your question. So, can you help him if he wants help? All right, going back to, if someone says, I need your help, then I believe, if you're a partner in their life, then you should help someone. Now, but ultimately, no one can heal themselves. They have to, no one can heal another. They have to want to heal themselves. So how you can help someone is read these books that I talk about. Read the books, How to Be an Adult in Relationship. Read the book, Nonviolent Communication by Marshall Rosenberg. Read these books. By the way, if you're watching the replay, stop it and rewind and check out the books I just mentioned. Read the book, 8 Dates by Dr. John and Julie Gottman. And of course, read my book, What the Heck is Self-Love Anyway? Start reading books or go to workshops or start watching videos. That's what I recommend. Pointing them in the direction is one way of helping them. Enabling them isn't going to do anything to help you. Enabling them isn't going to do anything to help you. Does that sink in? I hope so. All righty then. Okay, Leaf says, overall, my opinion, life was far better before cell phones. We practiced our people skills and learned how to read, enjoy, accept ourselves and other people without overthinking everything. You know what? That's why I said dating is a clusterfuck right now because of these devices. And quite frankly, when you swipe enough people, you actually become, disconnected with human beings. So yeah, it's a blessing and a curse at the same time. That's why it's good to detox from our phones. I know someone who detoxes from their phone once a week, the entire day, just to get out from underneath it. And some people, they do it for an hour a day. They have a device that stops their phone from, and I've actually stopped all my notifications because I couldn't stand the constant bing, 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 bing. It wasn't healthy for me. And that's a great post. So thank you so much. All right, let's see what else we have there. If you have a question, post the word question. Paracraft. If a guy is really into you, he'll want to contact you all through the day, right? Not just at night. You know what? That's not true. Look at men, here's the thing. You have to be careful. Only unhealthy human beings need constant validation. Let me repeat that. Unhealthy human beings need constant validation. Most people, healthy human beings, do not need to incessantly communicate with their partner or the person that they're dating. Those, by the way, any of you that have incessant communication, get ready for a bam. God, I just hit myself. Why did I do that? I literally hit myself to demonstrate a point. It's going to be like hitting a 2x4 because nobody can keep up incessant communication. Sometimes we're working all day. We've got shit to do. So be careful with that expectation. And by the way, ladies, the telephone goes two ways. All of you ladies that are going, why doesn't he call me? I've been 3 days, he hasn't called me. You can fucking pick up the phone yourself and text him. It's not the man's responsibility to initiate all the contact. It should look like this. For every 5 times he initiate contact, do 4. Okay, it's 1 less. But if he does 5 and you do 0, then here's what happens. He does 0 and you're like, wait a minute, I don't know what to do. He stopped talking to me. No, maybe he just needs you to step up and be demonstrative and effusive as well. I'm tired of this stupid fucking leaning back rhetoric. Feminine energy, lean back, let men do all the work. It doesn't work. That's why I'm here shouting at the top of my lungs to teach a better way to date, mate, and relate. And that's pre-qualify your prospect. So when you're with the right guy, it's going to be magical. Is that something you would like? Please let me know. Wow, that took a lot out of me. Thank you for your question. Sorry if I was a little harsh. Question, if every start is about attraction, I suppose flirting, how can I know if he's going more than sex? I mean, how can I not lose? Okay, so here's the thing. Men who just want sex, they'll try to conquer that as soon as possible because they have no intention of going the long term. So if he's too aggressively trying to have sex, that's usually a bad sign. Now, it's one thing to innuendos, a little bit of flirting and kissing, but a true emotionally healthy man waits for the right time for both of you to have sex. And it's not a sprint, it's a marathon. But here's the thing, if 2 people are clicking really well and they've vetted one another, then it's not uncommon to have sex somewhere. Most people are having somewhere between the 3rd and 10th date. That's about the average time frame these days. 10 dates can take about 6 weeks to happen. Usually people are having sex somewhere between the 2nd week and the 6th week of the dating process. It's very natural because let's face it, sex is part of the decision-making process for commitment. Let me repeat that. Sex is part of the decision-making process for commitment. But the more he pushes sex and it feels uncomfortable to you, that's a good sign that's all he wants. Because I wouldn't push sex on anyone that doesn't want to have sex with me. That's at least my way of looking at it. Okay. All right. Christina writes, why aren't you not married? Okay, since you've asked, I'm going to put this out there. So first off, I was married and I got a divorce. Then I was a train wreck for at least a half a decade, seeking connection and companionship and sex, but was not capable of being in a relationship until I met a woman in 2011 that I was smitten by. But at this time, I'll be candid with you. I'm going to tell you guys a truth. Thank you for staying this long, but you're going to hear something that I don't share too often. Like I said, I got wiped out in the market crash. I didn't have a job. I was starting my dating coaching business, and I was living with my mom and dad in a retirement community. My parents were in their 80s. Talk about being ashamed. And yet I met a woman who accepted my status. In fact, she realized on the second date I lived with my folks, and we went on to have a 6-year kind of on and off relationship. Probably in my life, the most healthiest relationship. Now, she's a marriage and family therapist, so she was very compassionate towards me. She knew my score, but my ground underneath me wasn't solid. So this is true for so many men. The ground underneath them isn't solid. That's one of the reasons why men are passive or slow, because if the ground underneath them isn't solid, it's hard to fully commit. And I was deeply, madly in love with this woman. And yet, we weren't really that well aligned for one another in a variety of different places in our life, and I wasn't in a healthy place. Now, I began building my business. And now I'm in a place where, my business is substantially greater than I was 10 years ago. So when she and I ended our relationship, and it was a beautiful conscious uncoupling. In fact, there's a book by Catherine Woodward Thomas called Conscious Uncoupling. On page 20 and 220, 221 is our story of how we broke up together. It actually made a book. In fact, our breakup made the television that week when we broke up, and there's more of a story to that. So why I'm sharing this with you is when she and I broke up about 3.5 years ago, I went to the Hoffman process. This is what I've talked about, to really do a deep dive into healing myself. And I walked out of the Hoffman process feeling like I was wrapped in a blanket of self-love. I felt like I was really wrapped up in a blanket of self-love. And I was ready. I felt really ready to be in relationship. And then what happened next was my mom passed away. There's a picture of my mom and dad when they were in their 20s, my mom and dad. My mom was 88 and she passed away. And, it happened suddenly, but we got a chance to say goodbye. And, that took its toll on me. I really didn't want to date during that time. But the more devastating thing, okay, I'm going to get emotional right now. The more devastating thing happened to me, to answer your question, was I lost my 19-year-old son, Connor, just a few months after my mom passed away. And folks, I can't begin to describe the absolute pain of a parent losing a child. It is such a devastating experience. And, it's funny because Connor said to me shortly before he passed, he said to me, this was 1 week before he passed, he said, Dad, I am so proud of you, what you're doing professionally, that you have a job that you could get together with me whenever you want. And I used to get together with him for lunch always. And that was 1 week before he passed. It hit me hard. And I just wasn't in the capacity to want to open myself up emotionally to someone. So what did I do? I did a deep dive into this book. And I started to be on the podcast circuit talking about grief. And I just wasn't in a place. And then my business tanked during that time. I just didn't feel like working. And so I wasn't really in a place to meet someone to even want to get married. And I truly do. And then 2020 hit and we had this pandemic going on, which makes it ridiculously fucking hard to connect with another human being other than through the internet. And quite frankly, people were so desperate that I was talking to women that were only desperate for connection. They weren't ready for a relationship. So why aren't I married? I just haven't met my person yet. That's all. It could happen tomorrow. It could happen a month from now. It could happen a year from now. It might happen 10 years from now. It doesn't matter, because what I learned in this whole process, and I'm glad if you stayed this long to hear this, what I learned about myself was the most important relationship I have is with myself, And quite frankly, I have to be careful because I'm getting a little set in my ways. I got to tell you, I really like my company. I'm a recovering codependent. If you're not familiar, where's that book? I'm a recovering codependent. If you're not familiar with the book Codependent No More, I basically operated for the longest time under the premise that I need you to love me so I can feel good about myself. I need you to love me so I can feel good about myself. And this is what everybody is suckling on the nipple of. They're suckling on the nipple of needing validation instead of learning how to self-soothe and self-validate oneself. So I'm here to say, that's the reason why, at least my perception as to why I haven't met my spouse. I've had a lot of trauma. But you know what that trauma did? And you know what, Connor? I'm sorry you had to leave for me to learn the most valuable lesson in my life. He had to pass away for me to learn to love myself. And I don't wish that on anyone. And I come across a lot of parents who've lost a child. If you can resonate with this, please post a comment. If you've experienced anything similar, I want to hear about it. And I just want to send you a big, gigantic Jonathon bear hug of self-love, I should say, because let's face it, all of us are hurting in some way, shape, or form. Many times it's, I don't feel good enough. I don't feel lovable. I don't feel likable. And I'm here to be a voice to encourage everybody to love themselves. And I had to learn the hard way. And maybe reading this, you don't have to learn it the hard way like I did. So thank you so much for your question and allowing me to share. All right. Total non sequitur. Question, is watching porn cheating? So, I'm not an expert on porn, but I do believe that you have to define what cheating is. Is it, penis and vagina intercourse, or is it masturbation and fantasizing? The reality is men and women fantasize when they masturbate, okay? Women do it, men typically need visual stimulation, women do it in their head. But if you masturbate and if you fantasize, even if it's not about your partner, is that cheating? Or even if it's not your partner, is that cheating? So my question is, why do people use porn? Well, I think, or actually the danger of porn. Let me talk about the danger of porn. And what I think is the danger of porn, and I don't use it anymore, is that it desensitizes you. Too much masturbation desensitizes you. I mean, guys who I think there is a level of over masturbation, and it's fine to have a release once a week, but I think as you get older, that can wear on you. I mean, it makes it harder and harder to orgasm inside of a woman if you're masturbating too heavily. That's just my perception on it. But do I think it's cheating? No, I don't consider that true cheating, because the reality is sometimes people fantasize about others while they're having sex with you. Is that cheating? I don't know. I'm not here to judge. What's most important, if you want to have a healthy sex life, you want to have a healthy sex life together, read this book, Making Love All the Time, and read this book, Intimate Communion. This is by Barbara DeAngelis. This is by David Data. These are two great books to shift your sex life when you learn how to make love all the time and really connect with your partner at a true emotional level. Are you willing to do that? Hit that like button. All right, thank you. Great question. Jonathon, isn't that overwhelming to be on all those sites? If you are busy with the phone, seems like a job. So For me, it's not, because quite frankly, I only respond to people who reach out to me. So for the most part, like I said, it's only about 10 or 15 emails in any, or swipes or whatever in any given day. It takes me about, at the most, I spend 15, 20 minutes unless I'm engaging with someone. But 15 and 20 minutes to prospect for my soulmate, I think it's worth it. And I believe that the more sites you're on, you create more spokes in the wheel, because maybe my soulmate is on Tinder and I've been hanging out on Bumble. Well, why not join Tinder too? And why not join Hinge? And why not be on Match? And why not be on OkCupid? Now, I don't spend a lot of time searching profiles because I created a killer profile in my mind that attracts women. And I clearly say, if you want to connect with me, write me a message. So that's how I operate. And ladies, since men are usually pursuing you, all you got to do, this is the one time you get to sit back and your feminine energy and let them make an investment in you. Unless you come across a profile that you think is special, then you make an investment in them. That's just my perception on it anyway. I hope that helps. All right. Michael writes, once I was masturbating, it's been a long time. My ex caught me. Okay, thank you. Well, it looks like a lot of masturbation things. Oh, Jen Amber, big hugs to you. By the way, folks, everybody right now, Jen Amber, I want you to go to her YouTube channel. She has a great product called a Rolladermer. It's a way to make your skin look younger. Would you believe I'm 85 years old? I'm just kidding. I go to Jen Amber's channel right now on YouTube. Just type in Jen Amber. Check out her products. She is fantastic. Fantastic. I highly recommend. Big hugs to you, sweetheart. All right. Question. I got back with my ex 26 days ago under the term we have a friend with benefit whatever relationship. His ugly divorce finalized 5 months ago after a 2-year separation. He's not ready to commit, saying. He's not ready to commit. Okay. So what is it you want, VL? If he's not ready to commit, the question I have for you is, why are you investing time in him? Why? Why do you feel like he's a good, so here's a couple questions I want you to ask yourself. Why are you investing time in him? What makes you think he's really capable of being in a fully committed relationship that leads to some sort of living together or marriage? And do this, ask your friends to review your relationship and get their advice, because I want you to imagine this, a girlfriend of yours is going through the same scenario. What advice would you give her about your situation? Try those questions on and then see what happens for you. That's just my invitation for you. Okay, thank you so much. Once again, Vanessa, Rolladermer is amazing. I love Jen Amber. Me too. I love Jen Amber. Yay, everybody. Question. Not me, you help. Not me, you help. Not me, you help. What kind of question is that? Okay. You know what, folks? I think this would be a good place to wrap up for today. Let's cover those 4 reasons why men act passive or go slow. Number 1, there's chaos going on in his life. There's chaos, divorce, issues. His ground underneath him isn't solid. Number 2, he lacks purpose or passion in his life. Again, no, if he's not excited about his life, how can he be excited about relationship? Number 3, he is set in his ways. Not fun to be with a guy where it's on his terms and not on your terms as well. And lastly, he wants something casual, known as stable ambiguity, meaning he doesn't know what he wants, and how can he pick the right partner if he doesn't know what he wants? I hope you found value in this video today. Please do me a favor, share this with friends, hit the like button. Share my content out, join my mailing list, check out the links in the description below to see if working with a coach is right for you, or join my group, or check out my podcast, the What Would Love Do podcast, and check out the links to all the other books I recommend. From the bottom of my heart, I want to thank you all for allowing me an opportunity to jump into your lives today. I'm going to have another drink of my Moscow Mule. It's happy hour time. Go have a happy day. And I'm going to wrap up this video as I always do. First off, give myself a big, gigantic Jonathon Bear hug of self-love. I'm going to reach into the camera and give you a hug of love if that's okay. I'm going to ask you to turn to someone or a pet, a teddy bear or pillow, and give it or them a hug of love, because hugs are a great source of love. And let's face it, we could all use more love in our lives. Thanks a bunch. Bye-bye now.